I will say I apologise for my cough because I just can't seem to shift this, but it's kind of your fault that I've got it anyway.
Well, I don't know. Not necessarily my fault.
I got it on Saturday.
I don't know who you would have picked that off from because, like,
No,
I mean, there's only one other person that's got it,
I know.
and I was
I don't understand how.
sat next to you both on the minibus, and
It makes no sense.
I went to see my nana on the day we got back, and now she's tested positive for it, but my mum thinks she tested positive because loads of people had it in her home before she came. So
it's not super spreader Charlie.
no, well, no, I did feel guilty because I was like, oh no, I hope I didn't. Because I felt slightly unwell before I went, and then I was like,
Oh really?
but not like massively, not like just.
Is she alright though?
Oh yeah, she's alright. Yeah.
Most people are now, to be fair.
Yeah, she's had all
That's
of
what's so annoying about it.
all her jabs and things. But she was meant to have a fourth. Is it fourth? We had 3 jabs.
Yeah, some people are having 4 jabs, aren't they?
Yeah, so she was meant to. Obviously, now she'll have to wait for that. But I don't know if we'll end up getting. I don't know.
Who knows?
But
Me before you.
yeah, I thought you've had it.
Goes.
You've had it twice now, haven't you?
Yeah, it's my second COVID.
Yeah. I keep saying to Lauren, I don't know. I've not got it again, but I don't know. But then your Lauren's never.
Yeah, my wife has somehow, both me and my child both tested positive, and yet somehow she hasn't, and it makes no sense.
It's a strange one. I was just thinking as well, we might have to distinctive me and Lauren from my Lauren to your Lauren.
No, I like the idea of it just being Lauren's.
Lauren's.
Just always refer to him as Lauren. And people are like, have they got the same wife? Is he engaged to his wife?
Just to confuse things.
Yeah. God, when these episodes go out, you might be married by then.
Could be. Well, it's 2 months. Yeah, it's less than 2 months. Like less than 2 months.
Very
a few
soon.
days. That scared me a little bit actually. That has actually scared me a little bit. There's just so much. I need to start. I started writing my speech about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I've not done anything since. I've just left it.
I've got to tell you, this is bigging myself up, but it was honestly like the best moment ever because I wrote the best opening line to a joint best man speech ever.
Okay.
In my opinion, it went down brilliantly.
Yeah.
And I only thought of the line. Like, we've got the whole speech written and we're sat at the table during the wedding breakfast.
Yeah.
And main course comes out. I was like, holy shit, I've just come up with a brilliant opening line.
Mm.
So I speak to the other best man, Matt, and I was like, we've got to change it. And I tell him it was like, yeah, that's pretty good actually. That needs to go in.
Yeah.
So the groom introduces himself and then says, right, now I'm going to hand over to the best men and everything. And comes down to us. Matt moves from where he is on the table. We're not at the front because there's 2 best men and it was quite a small wedding. So he moves to the side so that everyone can see him.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm just sat on my seat still, so it looks like he's the only one. We had pre-warned the groom as well, not to sort of like introduce us per se, because technically there was 3 and we had a slight gag.
Yeah.
With the third one not being there, so it's like try and leave out the fact of our names and all that because we've got jokes there. But anyway, so Matt goes to the in front of everyone. It's like, hi, my name's Matt. As Tom's alluded to, I'm one of the 3 best men. There has been some confusion here though, because I hope everyone can hear me. I did ask for a mic, and then I just slowly stand up, and I was so pleased with it.
Did it get some good laughs?
Oh yeah. I was like, it's downhill from now, guys. But, yeah, it was a great. If your name's Mike and you're doing a joint best man speech, open with that. Yeah, it's fantastic.
That is good. That is good. To be fair, I've sort of Googled groom speeches just to get kind of a gist of what I need to put. I mean, a lot of what I've read, it's like the groom speech is sort of thanking everybody and like saying bridesmaids look beautiful, or obviously your wife looks beautiful and all that. But I've found I've sort of half ones that are completely very, very soppy, which that's not really me or Lauren. But then there's a few sort of ones that have got like, I've started it with a bit of an opening kind of joke. So so I'll save it for the day.
But
I'll
we'll record it and we'll play it back into the episode.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, I was quite impressed with it. I have told Lauren it, and she did seem to find it quite funny. But because I thought add a slight bit of humour to it, and to be honest,
let's be honest. You're going to at some point talk about her parents.
Well, I was just about to come to that. I was just going to say, I think Lauren's mum's doing the speech for the instead of a dad, and yeah, I think every prank and things that I've played on Sandra and Rick over the years, yeah, she anything that I do now, she's like, I'm gonna add it to the speech. So I am worried that her speech is going to be over like 40 minutes. Well, I think it is going to be a long speech with she not in a horrible way, but she just likes to talk.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a little bit. I'm actually probably more nervous of her speech potentially embarrassing me than I am the best man speech.
I can't see Matt's being that embarrassing for you.
No, neither can I. I don't.
You're quite open with your embarrassment and stuff.
Yeah, to be fair,
like you're not ashamed of the things you've done.
No, that is true. I mean, there is one story that I think everybody knows it anyway. But I mean, obviously the one where I was very drunk and couldn't find the toilet.
Yeah, everyone knows that story.
Yeah, so that's probably. But yeah, I mean, I probably have more stories on him than he has on me anyway. I think.
I could believe that.
Yeah, I'll probably do that. Hope he's not listening.
I hope he is listening. Like, what the hell if he's not?
But yeah, I do need to finish that speech off. So I know I'll leave it to the end. How long?
I was writing mine on the day.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was so unprepared with it. But we didn't have things go wrong. But like before the wedding, like I was more preoccupied because we had an issue with our chair covers.
Oh, okay.
The lady who was doing the fabrics for those suddenly had a family emergency and had to dart away and was like, "Oh crap, we've got no chair covers." So we had to try and work out. So I had to find another dealership for that. I also had a job interview the day before the wedding.
Oh wow!
So I had a lot of stuff going on pre-wedding.
Definitely.
But
and you had the photographer cancelled you on the day as well.
Yeah, that was on the day. So it wasn't even in advance, that one. But luckily that one worked out all right.
Yeah.
Our wedding is a good example of things go wrong. It doesn't matter.
No. Well, that's the thing, and everything came together at the end of it. I mean, even
what was the highlight of our wedding? Like the thing that people remember most?
It's got to be the fire alarm going off during the best man speech. Which
there was a fire alarm that went off during the best man speech, and did it ruin the day? No.
No. If anything, I think it quite added to like the speech in a way, kind of thing. Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Was your brother? I can't remember what he said, but when he came back on it was quite funny. What he made a comment.
Yeah, he made a joke about it, didn't he?
Yeah, which I thought was quite. And to be honest, it was a warm day, and I think everyone was quite happy to get a bit of fresh air outside.
It just started raining, hadn't it? Or something.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I mean, it's not like somebody stood up and I don't know, there was a fight or something. I mean, that's obviously something to remember for the bad, but no, it was good.
Well, what I like a lot is we said, and we're not sure how we're going to start this, but we really just got into talking.
Yeah, we've not even done the introduction yet, and we've talked about COVID, my speech, wedding, your wedding, your best friend's wedding.
People getting to know us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe we should introduce the podcast.
Yeah, maybe. Hello, and welcome to the No Format podcast with me, Michael.
And me, Charlie.
When we say no format, you may have already noticed it literally has no format. We're winging it as we go. This first episode, we do have a plan, but the plan is literally no plan. We are going to talk about what we might be doing and our aims for the podcast. But we feel it's a good way for you guys to introduce, or us to introduce us to everyone out there. You ready to host your first ever podcast, Charlie?
Not really, no. But since I'm with you, Mark, the expert, I feel
expert. I've had like what 40 episodes, I think, something like that.
That's 40 episodes more than me. But you've got the, I don't know, like even when you did the last podcast, could tell not that you were like awful at the beginning, but as the podcast went on, you kind of, I don't know, you find your rhythm a bit, don't you?
Yeah, you get into the swing of it, and you realise that you're talking to people out there as well as obviously you in this scenario.
Yeah.
You're talking to you, but you've also got to make your whole conversation be aware for everyone else. They can't just be out of context, which for those people who don't know the context, I did host another podcast called the Mammon Podcast. And we've stopped doing that now, but this is a brand new podcast that I'm hosting.
I know, it seems like, when did you start the Mammon Podcast? That was over a year?
We started it, I remember us first tweeting when Boris Johnson announced the first ever lockdown.
Oh, okay.
Or was it the second lockdown? It was basically in January 2021.
So
yes.
Might have been the second.
January 2021. So yeah, it would have been the second one then. And we thought, hey, let's use the fact that everyone's going to be online,
Yeah.
checking out all the information as a reason to plug our podcasts. And we literally plugged it with the lines of, got nothing else better to do, why not listen to us?
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I was the only competition winner of your podcast.
You were, yeah. So you own a coveted Mammon podcast notepad and pen.
I do.
believe.
I need to find. I think it's in my drawer. I'm actually going to use it for this podcast. I'm going to find
Cross out the Mammon podcast and just put no format.
Yeah, I'll just print off something and stick on the front of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as the idea for the podcast, as Mike was saying, as we say, there is no format, but we were going to, a suggestion, which I sort of mentioned to you, Mike, was doing a sort of drawing a topic out of a hat.
Yeah.
So
even though there's no format, we'll have at the base of the episode an idea, or a talking point, and we can go on whatever tangents we want on there. We can one of us might suddenly announce a quiz for the other one, or we might suddenly start going back to what my old podcast was about, doing a list of our top of this certain topic, or just talking about it.
Yeah.
I feel like we won't know until that topic arrives what our plan is.
Would we have?
I was going to say maybe because obviously we'll know what we're going to be putting in these topics, and as the show continues, feel free everyone to
suggest
let us
topics.
know ideas for topics. Yeah, just put in suggestions and we'll add them into the hat if we know enough about it. Because if it's some random stuff like, I don't know, pinstripe suits, we really want to talk about that. But as long as it's something that we've got a bit of knowledge about or happy to discuss, then we'll talk about it. I've forgotten where my train of thought was going.
Well, I was going to say, actually, with that, would we do the drawing of the topic at the end of the... So, for example...
Previous.
Yeah. So then we'd have a bit of time to, I suppose, not research it, but you know what I mean? Or do we...
Yeah, we could, we don't talk to each other about what our plan for the episode is.
Yeah.
But why don't one of us draw it and the other one hosts the episode, and they have an idea where the format of that episode is going to go.
Okay. But so the person that, say I drew it today for the next week's episode, so I drew it, say, I don't know, it was history. Mm-hmm. Would you know that I've drawn it as history?
I think, let the other person know.
No, okay, yeah.
Unless you disagree with that.
No, it does make sense. Yeah, I just wanted to meet. Yeah, no, it does.
But you're the one, so I might research a bit about history. I think history is a very vague topic.
Yeah, it's not this. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't the best. It was a bit more a specific part of history.
I'm going to research the entirety of history, ready for the episode. Just research a bit about it, but then the other person takes the lead on where the conversation or the idea or the flow of the episode will go. Yeah. We don't necessarily each time have to do a sort of thing like that. It could be just every now and again we have episodes where we just talk about our day.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
We've literally got in with our title to do whatever we want.
Yeah. No. Well, I suppose that's the thing. That's the thing about it. I think it's not kind of it is no format like seeing the title kind of thing. So there's not that sort of pressure to kind of this week's episode is about, I don't know, 19th century history. Like, again, that's still quite a broad topic, but you know what I mean. Like, it kind of goes as it goes, I suppose.
So I'm going to say now that my history is awful. So if there's any history topics, it's you who's going to be taking the lead on those.
Yeah, I mean, my history is not too bad. Specifically, I know I'm a lot about World War II, but that's Well, I say I know a lot, but I reckon I probably don't compared to a lot of people.
That was the one with Hitler, right?
I think it was. I think it was some angry Austrian guy that didn't like a lot of people. But my grandma actually said she learned more about the war after it than she did during it. She did right the way through
it. Well, I suppose that sort of makes sense, especially in the era where the information wasn't as there. Because I was talking to my dad actually about, we won't get too deep into these sorts of topics, but I was talking to my dad about the Ukraine war at the moment.
Yeah.
And he was saying it's the worst I've ever seen it, which may well be true. But I was just saying, but don't you feel as well, we know more about it because of the information that's out there? You can't turn something on without knowing about it.
Oh,
Whereas back in the days, obviously, you didn't have your mobiles and you didn't have the access to the media as much as you do now.
No.
So I don't, like I say, my history is awful. I don't think there's been a war as big as this in recent times. But my dad's saying that just maybe think maybe that's the reason why he's thinking it, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like, you think World War back then, like, they used to go to the cinema and that's where you'd have the news. And
they'd have the broadcasts on beforehand, wouldn't they?
Exactly. And then obviously they had radio and things back then in the newspaper, but even then I think it was still biased as well. I don't think they sort of told you the full extent because obviously just to keep spirits up. But now,
it was all about morale and doing your bit for your country without saying what that might be necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. Which is understandable. I mean, at one point we could have been invaded, but yeah, I mean now it's just so much different. Like you can sort of see it. Like, I mean, well, they've blocked it now, but I used to watch Russia. Have you ever watched Russia Today?
I hadn't, no.
You can't. Well, they've blocked it all now because of the sanctions, but it's like Russian state television. But they used to have a channel over here. It's been over here for quite a few years now. But when the war first started, I sort of started watching that because theirs is obviously it's state-run media, so it's very biased. Like everything, you know what I mean? There's nothing Ukraine are bad and they're evil and everything. And in some ways, that's probably what, say, linking it back to World War II, it would have been like that with the German side, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't have seen, like, the Nazis wouldn't have necessarily seen them doing wrong.
No.
They were brainwashed into thinking what they were doing was right.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I'm sorry if we've offended any Nazis out there, but don't listen to our podcast, quite frankly.
and if they do...
You're not our prime audience.
I was going to say, if they do, we've obviously gone really wrong with our podcast.
Yeah, God, could you imagine? We've got the neo-Nazis listening. Wow.
Yeah, there's history done, so that's this week's podcast done, then we've done history.
Yeah, there we go, sorted.
Yeah.
I do feel like maybe we should actually write a list of some ideas very quickly.
Yeah, I think
brainstorm.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I mean, one thing I'd put for today, just because it's happening today, as in the day that we're recording this podcast, that it was the BAFTA Game Awards.
Oh, was it?
Which, to be honest, I sort of watched the news earlier and saw it, and I never really... I knew they had gaming awards, but I didn't realise it was BAFTAs, like a BAFTA one, if that makes sense. I didn't realise they had
I'm trying to think what might be the game of the year.
Well, I've just got it up. So there's got Best Game. I don't know if that would be classed as Game of the Year.
Yeah, Best Game would be. I'm trying to think what's been released this year.
I've never heard of this game, personally. I mean, I don't know if you want to have a guess.
I'm trying to think what the games out there. Like I said, I feel like my game... Like, I used to be like proper game. I've got a PS4, I've got a Xbox, whatever the latest... Is it the Series SX, whatever?
Have you got the Xbox where you can't put discs in it?
You don't have a disc drive.
Yeah, so you've got the Series S.
Yeah, I think. And I've got a Nintendo Switch, so like I enjoy gaming, but I can't remember the last time I properly gamed.
No. See, I've gamed quite a bit. I've just got back into my got the Xbox Game Pass, which is also linked to my laptop as well, so I can get the PC and the Xbox game. So I've sort of been mainly on my PC, but I've sort of gone back to because they've sort of released a streaming thing, so you can stream games now instead of having to download them on the Xbox.
Okay.
So there's not all of the Game Pass games you can do, but there's quite a lot. But I mean, I found myself the other day. I would have never downloaded it in a million years playing Lawn Mowing Simulator.
Is that out now?
It is out. It came out last year or this year. But just because I could stream it, so there was I didn't have to wait 2 hours for it to download. And yeah, it got boring quite quickly. I ended up just destroying the lawn and the flowers and things. But.
Well, I tried playing the Train Simulator one.
Oh, I've played that one before.
And I just ended up not being able to get the train to move, so I just gave up.
It's so complicated. Like you just think, you press a button to go and a button to stop, but you have to put it into like a gear and
and there's like all the gears. They're not just 1, 2, 3, 4. Like it confused the hell out of me, so I gave up.
It's not. I like Flight Simulator. That is a guilty pleasure. But yeah, a lot of the other simulator games. I mean, there's everything. There's Forklift Simulator. There's Crane Simulator. Like, it just goes too much. But
yeah, there's a lot of simulator games out there.
There's a lot of simulator. But back to the best game. Did you want to have a guess?
I have accidentally found out what it is, and I never would have guessed what it was.
No, I've never
in a million years.
Was it the best game? It's called Returnal.
Yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced.
Returnal. I mean, I've never heard of that game.
It's a PS5 game.
Is it just for PS5?
It appears so.
Oh, okay. It looks some sort of like space kind of game. I'm trying to think what game it kind of reminds me of.
It's a third-person shooter game featuring roguelike elements and covering the psychological horror genre.
Okay. I'll say maybe it's...
Bear with me 2 seconds. I've got a cat meowing outside, but for the listeners, this will be 2 seconds. Sorry about that. Where were we?
Describing the Returnal.
Yeah, so it was a psychological horror genre game.
But then I say maybe it's because it's for PS5. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Not
so only PS5. Yeah, only PS5.
What about?
So what was nominated?
What was nominated? What for the best game?
Yeah.
So we've got Deputy, best game. So best game. So there was Deathloop.
Yeah.
That one.
That's where you sort of die and revive and go back to the beginning and stuff like that.
Okay. Forza Horizon 5. I actually played that the other day. That game won best British game. I didn't realise it was a British development. Playground
Games. It's set in Mexico, the game, I believe.
The last one was set in Scotland.
Was it?
Yeah, because I remember playing that one. Which is good. I mean, I'm not massively into racing games, but I don't mind.
The graphics are phenomenal.
They are. I mean, that was I was streaming it. I mean, that did let it down because streaming it, obviously, you're not getting the best graphics. But, that did let it down. Then there was
Can I just say, I've just gone on to the most ridiculous website ever. You know, obviously, if you allow cookies and stuff, sometimes you don't want to allow cookies.
No.
It's literally come up saying, click allow if you are not a robot.
Click allow?
Yeah, to allow the cookies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nice. I think I'll pass on that.
I never knew what are cookies.
It's just biscuits, aren't they? No, they're just things that are stored in your device that let them trace back like you've been on a website, I believe. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. I always, because I always say, like, if you're looking for a holiday or looking to book a hotel,
your cookies.
Yeah, because it apparently alters the price. I don't know if that's like a kind of an urban myth or something, or if it actually does make a difference.
Yeah. I think it does, to be honest with you.
How does that?
I've seen it make a difference. I've seen differences between me and Lauren Googling.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Strange, isn't it? So there was, so we've got Deathloop, Forza Horizon 5,
Inscription. Yeah, never heard of that one either.
It Takes Two. That was...
Deck building. I've heard good things about that. It Takes Two.
Yeah. That was one they were talking about on the news, actually, when they were interviewing, sort of thing. It's like it's multiplayer, kind of sort of focusing on teamwork instead of against each other,
which games don't seem to have a lot of these days.
No, I prefer personally playing with somebody against a computer than playing against other people. To be honest,
same, mainly because I'm quite rubbish at gaming.
Well, that's the same for me as well. So we've got Ratchet and Clank. That was the other one.
I've always been a fan of Ratchet and Clank.
See, I recognised it, but then I assume it's an older game that's, like, say, been remade, or just sort of.
No. It was one of the launch games for the PS5.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, but Ratchet and Clank's been going for years. This is their 16th game in the franchise, so it's been going a hell of a long time.
Okay. And then EE Game of the Year, something called Unpacking.
What's E Game of the Year?
EE Game of the Year.
Oh, EE Game of the Year.
Yeah. And I mean, there's just a
is that the game where you unpack boxes? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
I think I've seen it on the Nintendo Switch store.
It's a very basic graphic game, but yeah, it was like somebody's college room, the university room that they're sort of unpacking. I mean, but then I suppose unboxing is a big thing now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a massive thing.
So, I wasn't surprised. But yeah, I'm looking at some of other sort of categories of games that have won, and bar from... So, Best Evolving Game, No Man's Sky. So I've played that.
That's fair.
Yeah, because that has come a lot. I mean, I remember it coming out initially for... I think it was initially for PlayStation.
I think it was initially for all consoles. No, I might be wrong with that, though.
No, I think it was PlayStation, because I remember Lauren's brother getting it, and I was debating whether to buy a PlayStation to get it, because it sounded really good, because it was effectively infinite, and then I remember it coming out on Xbox, and I sort of bought it, and I played it, but I think it was. I did get quite into it, but it was one of them games where is very much. In some ways, it's like too real. So like,
yeah,
you've got to you've got to eat. You've got to eat on that one. No, maybe you don't have to eat, but you've got to get energy for your get fuel for your starship and mine different things, and obviously the fact that the game is just so it's like infinite universe kind of thing. Could never kind of be impossible to visit every planet because it's just But it was
like you'd never. It's a multiplayer game, but you rarely come across people.
Yeah, exactly.
Although apparently that's changed now. That's one of the things that they've updated.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I don't know if I wanted there should be a thing where you could go in and play with other people, but you don't want to be playing with people all the time because you always get some sort of people on there that are just there to kind of kill you and to take all your stuff, kind of thing. When you know what I mean, that's a different type of game. You know what I mean, a different type of gameplay, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Different game mode. That's what I'm looking for. Then some of these other ones, I'm not. The Artful Escape.
Yeah, I was looking through the list and it's made me realise that last year of gaming, I've not either it hasn't been massive or I've not really been there for it.
No, I agree. It takes two. So, I don't know. There's not. I mean, Call of Duty was nominated for Best Animation, but that's probably like one
Call
of the.
Call of Duty, there's a new one every year.
Yeah, Call of Duty's me personally, it's sort of that spray and pray game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Halo Infinite was nominated for Best Audio. So Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy was nominated for Best Audio. I mean, the soundtrack for Guardians of the Galaxy, even the game is pretty good. Have you played it?
Not the game.
It's good. I mean, obviously you got the same. Obviously, you got the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're voiced by different people, which does take a little bit of getting used to. Apart from Groot, who sounds exactly the same, but. I know what you mean though. I think I've been sort of a bit out of the loop. I play the same games like Football Manager. I play that coming out every year kind of thing. But maybe I should. I think it just can get expensive.
Oh, it can get expensive. It can get time consuming.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely the time consuming. Definitely.
I think for me, having a child now just takes that away.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the few years yet, but I can give him a fake controller, and then I can just play on the PlayStation or Xbox or Switch.
And he thinks he's playing along with you.
He will not have a
Do you think you'll not get him into gaming, but
I want to get him a Sega Mega Drive.
Okay.
And some of the games I had back on the Sega Mega Drive. So I'm talking games like Toe Jam and Earl. I had an Asterix and Obelix game, obviously Sonic. Get those sort of games and introduce him to the world of gaming in a quicker manner that I did. So like after that, he'll maybe have a Game Boy, and then he'll have a Nintendo 64, and then a PlayStation, Xbox, and so forth. But introduce him to like the simpler games and let him have a appreciation to games, because I feel like games are too easy these days.
Yeah.
I know people really like them, but Uncharted, I feel it's a game. If you press forwards, the character will go in every direction that they're meant to go.
Yeah.
It sort of plays the game for you.
Yeah.
As opposed to you doing it. And like back in the days when you didn't have checkpoints per se, and you had to remember a code to move further on in the game and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was obviously harder, and it just made you realise life wasn't fair, Charlie.
No.
Sometimes someone might kick you down to the ground, but you got to get the fuck back up.
No, I do see what you mean. I mean, for me, that game that would sort of be that would be Crash Bandicoot.
Oh God, yeah.
Like I've sort of been playing that, the remastered version.
Same.
And that is a very frustrating game.
The bridge levels.
Oh, the
fucking bridge.
Oh no, I was respect the Great Wall of China one.
Yeah.
So I think that I was playing it for so long, I had to get Lauren to complete it for me because
really,
I couldn't, and even it took her a couple of times. But I mean, I'd lost all my life. I built up all these like 30 odd lives, and I couldn't even get. Yeah, but like you say, there are checkpoints there, but they're not as frequent. You know what I mean? They're not very frequent. And there's some games now.
One checkpoint in the game or two checkpoints in the level. Sorry.
Exactly, that's it. And then once you lose your lives, it's like you have to start right from the beginning again. So even that checkpoint, kind of, in some ways, after you lose your lives, that's it, isn't it? It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But I mean, some games now you can just save like whenever. You can save it
Although sometimes I find that a bit. So I can't remember what game it is. It might be a Resident Evil game. Maybe Resident Evil 4. This was a while ago. But I saved it at a point that I thought was okay. And then I think I must have overwritten some saves or something like that.
Okay.
And next thing I know, I'm up against this ridiculously tough baddie.
Yeah.
And I've got no ammo.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it can go
But
against
I've saved it, so I physically can't go back, or I'm stuck there dying.
Oh.
And I remember I might not be Resident Evil, but there was some game, and I just remember just giving up because I just couldn't do the level anymore. I couldn't do the game because I just messed it up for myself.
And then you don't really want to go back and have to start again, kind of from the beginning.
No.
Kind of thing. I had the same thing with Skyrim. I think it was I must have maybe 10.
Have you ever completed Skyrim? Because I've had Skyrim on 4 consoles and I've never completed it.
But is it a game that you can complete, as per se?
Yeah.
Oh, you can. I thought it was just one of them games that you could kind of. I assume there's like a main story quest that you can complete. And
have you not really been following the story quest of being a Dragonborn?
Well, I'd sort of start. Well, yeah, I think the Dragonborn bit, and then it was such a long time ago. But again, I got to that point where I think I'd been following the story and I'd saved it just before fighting. I don't know if it was a dragon actually, but every time the dragon, I couldn't run away, so it just killed me every time.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't escape, and then it was just like, oh, well, yeah, that's it now. And I just sort of kind of lost interest.
Well, I got the furthest I ever did on Skyrim on my PS4, and then I had a game-breaking glitch. So 2 of the characters just didn't appear where it was meant to, and I couldn't progress the game.
See, that's even more frustrating because that's nothing that you've done that's caused that. Like, there's one thing being frustrated because you've saved it in a shit place, but having a glitch like that is so infuriating.
And for those who actually know the game, like, I'm pretty sure it's quite near the end. Like, you have a vision of what happened in the past, and the dragon just never appears, and it's just so frustrating.
So you say you've never over how many consoles?
Never completed it.
So have you bought the game for different consoles, or has it just been you have bought the game?
Yeah, I bought the games for different consoles. Okay. Another game that frustrated me in terms of its save point was Fallout 3. At the end, spoilers, but you go into a water purifying plant, and you have to either sacrifice yourself or your dad.
Okay.
Basically to flip the switch, like one of you has to be inside. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But I still had tons of sort of side quests and everything that I wanted to do. But I thought that's fine because I can do them after the main story.
Yeah.
So I think I'd only got this one saved, just continuously saving over the same save.
Okay.
And go into this room, and then it auto saves, and you can't get out. You got to finish off the mission, but then the game ends.
Oh, really?
You can't then go and do the missions back then. And it's like, are you actually kidding me?
So
that frustrated me.
So basically, if you reload after the story ended, if I
reload my save, I'm back in that room.
There's no. I've played it. Well, I've not played it for a while, but Cyberpunk and the last mission. I mean, the last mission is a long mission in itself, but basically you start the last mission, which you can save during the last mission if that makes sense. But when you've completed it, it takes you back to literally just before that last mission. So you can kind of still do all your side quests. Plus you've gained all your XP and additional weapons that you've.
So it's like a Games Plus version sort of thing.
Yeah. Which I thought was quite good.
Yeah, it's how games should be.
And you can play in the last mission on this one. It's I don't want to give any spoilers away, but there's different ways you can do it. So you can actually go and play the last mission again and play it completely different to how you played it before, which is quite good. So them games are quite good.
I enjoy big open world games.
Yeah, I'd say they're my favourite. Where sort of like your Skyrim and things. But I think sometimes if it's too big, I think I get a bit. What's the word? It can be a bit daunting. If that makes sense.
It can be, and sometimes because of all the side quests, this is my biggest criticism of it. Because of all the side quests, you lose track of what the actual main story is.
Yeah, exactly.
You lose track of the side quests because you got so many going on. You're like, is this related to that one? And then all the characters look alike as the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See, I tried what game? I think it was the last Assassin's Creed game, Valhalla. Which I was like, right, I'm not just going to do, because normally games I just blast through the story and then that's it. And then once I've completed it, it's like, I can't really be bothered with the side quests. So I started basically doing the side. I sort of tried to do every side quest that I could before I sort of went on the story. And so it was good because it made the game last longer before you completed the main quest. Plus, you got all this extra sort of weapons and perks and all stuff like that.
I'm a side quester.
Yeah, it's quite good because some of the side quests you've always got one where you're like carrying something or like some sort of retrieving something, kind of very simple. But then you've got ones that are actually could be potentially missions within the game because sort of you're fighting or whatever you're doing. But yeah, no, I think that's the thing. That's in the games now. There are different ways you can play it. Like Crash Bandicoot. I mean, your side quest would have been when you did that. When you collected the little
little emeralds at the sides.
Yeah, there was the emerald at the side. What was his girlfriend called?
Coco.
There was the 3 little little things of a head, like little hovering.
Yeah, and then you got to go to another level or something, didn't you?
Yeah, and you could get like the extra apples and lives and stuff like that. But I suppose that would have been maybe sort of the first kind of side quest in the game. But
yeah, it was more what's the word? Collectibles.
Yeah, that's probably what more it is. But yeah, no, I think open world games are better. What do you reckon? Do you think the first open world game was?
It would have been a Elder Scrolls game potentially. They were quite wild, but then you had those big adventure text games, didn't you? Well,
there was one. The first I thought I googled it just out of curiosity. So the first open world game was Jet Rocket.
Never heard of it.
A video projection arcade released by Sega. I would guess what year or decade it's from.
90s.
No, earlier.
Really? 80s?
Earlier than that. Well, 70s. 1970. It was released in 1970.
And that was an open world game.
It was the first 3D open world game was Sega's video projection arcade. Oh no, see now. Oh no, that's it. No, Jet Rocket 1970 to something called High Diddley.
It's a flight simulator.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a flight simulator.
Oh yeah, there's a picture of a flight. I suppose that was
literally is just a plane cockpit
that you can just fly around.
Yeah.
I remember looking at the old flight simulator, going through the old flight simulator game. I suppose for them they are, even though it's not probably what your class is new today. But I suppose you've got no parameters of the game kind of thing. But I mean, I think of the first open world game I played, probably going to be like Pokemon.
Yeah,
because that was an open game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. For me, it would have been some of the Zelda games. If we talk Zelda games like that.
Yeah, that's right. Something I never got into Zelda or.
Oh, I love Zelda. That'd be one of my favourite games of all time. But anyway, that should be a topic of its own on another episode.
Exactly.
I think we should start to wrap this one up.
I agree. I feel like we've discussed a little snippet of different topics in this episode, a little bit of history.
Yeah, you've got a little idea and a flavour of what to expect in the episodes to come.
Yeah, exactly. So, are we going to draw? Well, I say draw. We've not got anything for the topic for the next episode, or
I'll tell you what. I'm looking in front of me at a series of items on the table.
Okay.
And we can pick one of the items on the table.
Okay.
But I know which one it's going to go for.
Okay.
So I've got some very boring items in front of me.
What? Right. So okay, yeah, go on.
You get to pick what one it's going to be, and I know exactly what one you're going to pick.
Okay.
Right. Toolboxes.
Okay.
Car wash. Okay. Crayons. A COVID test. Or board games.
Oof. That is a tough one, Mike. That is a very tough one. There's two that I'm deciding, but I think push come to shove, I think I'm probably going to have to go with COVID test. No, I'm going to go for the board game.
Should we have a little discussion about board games on the next week's episode?
That sounds very good, yes.
All right. Well, if you're interested in listening to that, join us next week. If not, just look at the episode titles. I'm sure we'll put in the episode titles what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
All right. That's us. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thank you. Bye.